Hi, I'm Claudia, a PhD candidate in anthropology at the Graduate Center of the City University of New York, affiliated with the New York Consortium in Evolutionary Primatology Graduate Training Program. I'm an evolutionary biologist and biological anthropologist who's interested in morphology, or the size and shape of physical traits in the skull and teeth of humans, our fossil hominin ancestors, and living and extinct vertebrates in general. I investigate sex differences in the skull of humans and fossil hominins and the evolutionary development of the vertebrate detention. I love both research and teaching and aspire to work as a university or college professor or a researcher and educator in a museum or scientific institution. I'm also an advocate for intersex human rights and LGBTQIA people in STEM and plan to continue my work as a scholar activist throughout my career. It's nearly impossible to overstate how meaningful it is to me to have been chosen as one of the first Out to Innovate Ben Barres Fellows. I learned that my body was different from others at a young age and was eventually told I'm intersex. Intersex people are those who are born with a combination of traits, some traditionally considered male, some traditionally considered female, and sometimes others that are uncommon for typical males or females, all in the same body. I initially became interested in biology and science in general because I knew that my being different had something to do with genes and hormones and development. I thought that if I could just understand all that, I might figure out why I was so different. Now I understand that what I really wanted was acceptance and affirmation that it was okay to be who I am, an intersex person. But along the way, I fell in love with biology, especially evolutionary biology, vertebrate paleontology, and human evolution, and I decided to pursue these interests professionally. Growing up, I didn't know it was possible to live openly as an out intersex person. I didn't know any out intersex people in real life and had been told in no uncertain terms that I could not disclose being intersex to anyone for any reason ever by my doctors and other authority figures for the entirety of my childhood and adolescence. My mind began to change when I read Ben Barres's 2006 op-ed in Nature, where he discussed sexism in STEM from his perspective as an out trans man. Knowing that this high-profile scientist had transitioned during his career and kept both his job and reputation as an incredible neurobiologist made me feel hope that someday a high-profile scientist would come out as intersex and pave the way for people like me to feel like I could be truthful about who I was and still be embraced by my colleagues. Ultimately, I decided that I didn't want to hide an important part of who I am for my whole career, and I came out as intersex during graduate school. Years later, reading Barris's posthumous autobiography, I learned that in addition to being trans, he also had intersex traits, specifically MRKH. While Barris did not appear to identify as intersex, knowing that a successful scientist like Barris had intersex traits was overwhelming. I only wish that I had known this when Barris was alive, so I could have reached out to him then. Being a Ben Barris Fellow is incredibly meaningful to me because it connects me to him as an intersex scientist, even if this connection is posthumous.